Hey everyone, Pastor Megan here. Glad to have you join me again today. This is a special Maundy Thursday edition of Come to the Table, and so we're at my dining room table today. We've got bread and wine as we remember the Last Supper. And again, as with every Come to the Table, I invite you to join us. No matter the church of your membership, the form of your baptism, wherever you are on the journey with God, there's a place for you at this table because it's God's table. So join us. Come to the table. Okay, so we are going to start with our breath prayer as usual. So go ahead, get your feet flat on the floor, hands palms down or palms up on your knees or the tops of your thighs. And go ahead and take in a nice deep breath in through your nose. And then out through your mouth. Trying to make that exhale just a little bit longer than the inhale. Maybe you're really good at this by now, so you can let it go 2 or 3 counts longer than your inhale. Here we go, let's go again. Inhale. And then exhale. Take a couple cycles on your own, finding your own rhythm, your own wave. Let's all join together in this last one. Inhale, really big. And exhale. Notice how you feel. Bat your eyes open again. Great. I'm a bread person. We have been making lots of loaves of bread at our house lately. This is sourdough that Eric made, but we've also made sandwich bread in our bread maker. I made focaccia a few nights ago. We love crusty baguettes and soft Italian bread and all sorts of things in between. It just feels like home to have bread baking. Especially now when we want that coziness and that warmth in our homes together. I even made banana bread this morning. I'm a bread person. I love bread. I'm also a wine person. Eric and I got engaged in Napa Valley, and we spent a lot of time when I lived in Washington State learning about wine and going wine tasting, where I discovered that I love bold reds, deep reds like the one you see in my glass, with earthy flavors and spice and fruit. But more than being just a bread person and a wine person, right? I love a good charcuterie tray as an appetizer, as a special treat at the restaurant. But deeper than that, I'm a bread and wine person, right? And you are too. Author Shauna Nyquist explains this really well in her book called Bread and Wine. And so I'd like to share with you a quote from that book. This is what she says. She says, by being a bread and wine person, I mean that I'm a Christian, a person of the body and blood, a person of the bread and wine. Like every Christian, I recognize the two as food and drink, And also at the very same time, I recognize them as something much greater. Mystery and tradition and symbol. Bread is bread and wine is wine, but bread and wine is another thing entirely. The two together are sacred and the material at once, the heaven and earth, the divine and the daily. The divine and the daily. Isn't that a beautiful way to think about the bread and the wine of communion? Jesus and his disciples on this night so long ago, as they were celebrating the Passover, they gathered together for a festival meal. Particular foods went into this festival meal, including wine and unleavened bread. And they gathered during this festival to remember how God provided and led the Israelites out of slavery and into the promised land. And they have a ritual meal together, right? They eat things in a certain order. They pray certain prayers. And at the end of each prayer, they drink the wine. It's an incredible ritual that our Jewish brothers and sisters still celebrate during the Passover. And Jesus, he creates a new ritual. After the Passover meal has ended, he uses those ordinary things that are already on the table, the bread and the wine, and Jesus makes a new promise. He proclaims a new promise made in his body and in his blood, poured out for all, for the forgiveness of sins. And so on this Maundy Thursday, we pause to remember that meal, and perhaps even more poignantly today, the meals that we've shared around the communion table together at Emmanuel or other places of worship, and other tables where we have gathered with family and friends in joy, in sorrow, and in everyday life. And there's something special that happens at these tables. It doesn't matter to a lot of people, Shauna writes, but it matters more and more to me. Life at the table is life at its best, and the spiritual significance of what and how we eat, and with whom and where, is profound and new to me every day. She says, and I agree with her, I believe God is here among us, present and working. I believe all of life is shot through with God's presence, and that part of the gift of walking with God is seeing God's fingerprints in all sorts of unexpected ways. Today, we are at our own dining room tables to think about Maundy Thursday. We're celebrating Holy Home Communion. Heads of households have been empowered to proclaim Jesus' words over the bread and the wine and share this ritual together. We're not able to gather around the communion table in our sanctuary tonight, but that doesn't make God and God's promises any less present. The divine and the daily mingle together in the bread and wine or crackers and juice or whatever is on your table tonight. When you eat tonight, when you eat your meal, when you share in the ritual of Holy Communion, I want you to think of God, of the holiness of the hands that feed us, of the provision we are given every time we eat. When you eat bread and drink wine, I want you to think about the body and blood every time, not just when we're gathered at church, but every time you're gathered around the table, sharing bread and wine and fellowship with people you love and people who love you. Wherever bread and wine show up, whatever form they take, God is present. And So tonight, as you celebrate communion at your home table, I'm thankful for your boldness and your courage in taking on that responsibility in these strange and chaotic times. And I pray that whenever you eat and drink bread and wine or any other food that the Creator has provided for us, that you would eat and drink, trusting that the promises are true today and always. Amen. Blessings to you on this Maundy Thursday. For your spiritual practice, you can celebrate Holy Home Communion. I'll put a link to that in the description. Or you can have a meal, a nice meal with your family or someone you love, or make a nice meal for yourself, whether it's bread and wine and your favorite cheese and meat and a snack dinner, a luxurious snack dinner, or if it's a full multi-course meal, whatever it is. Take some time to have a meal and remember God's presence with you in this place. So I want to leave you with this blessing. It's from Jan Richardson because she's my favorite, and she just writes such beautiful, beautiful words for blessing. This one is called Blessing the Bread, Blessing the Cup. Let us bless the bread that gives itself to us with its terrible weight, its infinite grace. Let us bless the cup poured out for us with a love that makes us anew. Let us gather around these gifts simply given and deeply blessed. And then let us go, bearing the bread, carrying the cup, laying the table within a hungering world. Amen. Thanks for joining me today, friends. I'll see you next time.